Hello everyone. I am a bit pissed today. Now before I get into that, I need to explain to you why I haven't made videos in the last 2 weeks. You see, the situation going on in the US has become, well, divisive maybe isn't a good enough word, but chaotic isn't quite correct either. In any case, the situation in the US is adversarial to say the least. I had explained this to Meg partly on last week's political recap and a little bit afterwards, but I have scrapped scripts almost every week for videos. And the reason for it is because the situation is so complex that I don't think I can fully explain my position without asking for the wrath of the mob. Perhaps I'm letting my real life corrupt my YouTube persona too much, but in real life, enough derision and flack from friends has intimidated me. In this circumstance, however, I am rightfully angry, and I challenge those who wish to argue to come at me because in this case, I stand firm. Let's talk about Rayshard Brooks. Firstly, I am sure that you have heard the situation, and I am sure you are fully aware of the overarching circumstances. At approximately 10:30 on June 14th, police were called to Wendy's in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, as someone was asleep at the wheel of their vehicle. 2 officers responded to the scene, Garrett Rolfe and Devin Brosnan. The officers find Mr. Brooks passed out at the wheel and wake him up, and proceed to have a conversation with him for about 20 minutes while conducting a field sobriety test. Rayshard fails and is going to be placed under arrest. I must point out, by the way, the entire time the cops have been polite in every way. Body cam footage is available for those interested. I'll link some of the ones I watched down below. For reference, the New York Times article linked below is pretty succinct. Now then, the struggle commences when one of the officers attempts to handcuff Mr. Brooks. Rayshard snaps forward and begins wrestling with the cops. The whole time, the cops can be heard saying, "Stop fighting, stop fighting." One pulls out a taser. They say, "Stop fighting or you're going to get tased," at which point Rayshard steals one officer's taser, flips one on his head into the pavement, and breaks free. Officer Rolfe attempts to fire his taser at the now fleeing Rayshard Brooks. It does not appear to work. As the running continues, Officer Rolfe switches hands with this taser, puts his hand on his firearm. At the exact time he does this, Rayshard turns around and fires the stolen taser at Officer Rolfe, missing him. The officer proceeds to fire 3 shots, 2 of which hit Rayshard Brooks in the back, killing him. On body cam footage, you can then hear one of the officers telling Mr. Brooks to breathe as they perform CPR. Well, you see, some would say this is a clear case of justifiable use of deadly force. A suspect, having resisted arrest, punched cops in the face, stole a taser, ran, then fired said taser at a pursuing officer. I'm sorry, but I seem to think that this was perfectly in the realm of reasonable use of a firearm. But wouldn't you know it, it's not so widely agreed upon and is frankly controversial. So controversial that the Wendy's where this took place was burned down. Currently, the police, yes, the police are looking for the suspect. I laugh because there's something more to discuss later about the police in Atlanta. Well, the district attorney of Fulton County in Georgia has taken it upon himself to go full force against this cop and charge him with 11 charges, one of which is felony murder. A charge that holds the death penalty or life in prison. I'll be honest, I've been watching a lot of Crowder, Tim Pool, and I've seen their comments lately about how civil war is coming. I'm going to be completely honest, I agree. I hate to say it, I don't want it to happen, but I think it's happening. Look at everything going on, and I'll be making a video explaining what I mean by everything going on, but look at the riots, the bending over backwards of politicians, and the worst, the worst, is the people who are agreeing with this shit on social media. Some of these people are the biggest liars and passive fucking sheep. I know sheep is a weird term, but today I ended up arguing about this very topic with someone on Facebook, and they posted the felony charge news story and said that this charge was true justice. We got into it, and the conversation devolved into whether or not the person deserved to die. No, Rayshard Brooks, for driving drunk, did not deserve to die. However, you punch a cop, you steal his potentially lethal weapon, and I will explain that statement, and then you shoot at him with that weapon. Look, if I, as a white Hispanic-looking dude, did that, I damn well expect to be shot. But this isn't a race thing. This is a person who made dumb decisions getting the logical conclusion of those dumb decisions. It's not because he was black, and it's not because the cops were white. Whether you like it or not, that's the truth. So let's rewind a second. Let's go to that lethal weapon comment about a taser. So a taser is potentially lethal if used incorrectly. Reuters even put out an article saying that black people disproportionately die in confrontations with the police when a taser was used, and it was only published like this week. But the District Attorney Paul Howard Jr. had said in a press conference just last week that tasers were deadly weapons in Georgia when referring to 2 other officers who had manhandled some people during a riot. I haven't looked up that story too much, but here's the quote of him saying it.
And charged with aggravated assault of Ms. Pilgrim, and this is for pointing a taser at Mrs. Pilgrim. And as many of you all know, under Georgia law, a taser is considered as a deadly weapon under Georgia law.
So the conversation ended up with him conceding because the idea of tasers being deadly weapons was a, quote, laughable concept to him. Now, to anyone who pays attention to the news or even watches the show Cops on occasion, rip good TV show, by the way, you'll know that being shot with barbs that go into your skin and produce an electric current that is meant to lock up your muscles is something that can cause heart attack or even paralysis. Hell, if you get shot in the spine by accident, cops will literally force you to get into an ambulance so you don't get paralyzed. So yeah, at the very least, it constitutes serious bodily harm. But this DA, who by the way is also prosecuting Garrett Rolfe for this quote-unquote crime. In this case, however, Paul Howard made the statement, even though Mr. Brooks was slightly impaired, his demeanor during this incident was almost jovial, Howard said. For 41 minutes and 17 seconds, he followed every instruction, he answered the questions. Mr. Brooks never displayed any aggressive behavior during the 41 minutes and 17 seconds. Paul Howard, are you a fucking liar? Because I think you're a fucking liar. Well, in response to this craziness, police aren't showing up to their shifts in certain places in Atlanta because, let's be honest, if I was going to face down a death penalty prosecution for doing my job, yeah, I wouldn't show up either. But that's all I got for you guys today. Leave a like in the comment section down below. Please share it if you think I did a good job, and sub if you haven't already. I would like to thank you all for joining me tonight, and I will see y'all soon.